Okay, so it's been 4 months. What the heck have I been doing? Well, I'm going to answer that right now. These last 4 months have been very eventful. I've gone through a move, had a lot of college stuff to do, and I've been kissing the cats in my house every single night. Now, while I could go on and on about everything that's happened in my personal life, I think I'm just going to cut to the chase and let you know what I've done in my game, because I've done a lot. Now, one of the most visually notable things that you might see is there are now creatures wandering the world. I had them implemented a long time ago, but they barely worked. I mean, they would just do nothing. So now there are interactive mobs, passive and aggressive mobs. Now the aggressive mobs, that's currently what I'm working on. All the rock golems wandering. And by the time I upload this, I'm not sure if they're gonna be actually working right, but hopefully they are. All the passive mobs, they will just kind of wander around, and whenever a player or certain aggressive mobs get close, they will run away. Now, the most notable thing I did in the last few months, and this is part of a reason I took a short break. I've been programming for the majority of this break, but I definitely took a month off because of networking. I got all the campsites up and running. Now whenever a player interacts with the meat, it sends what's called a raise event, and it sends that across the network, and it changes the state of that campfire for every single player. This was initially a bit of a challenge for me. I had to make it in a way that it could be serialized and then saved, and well, I did that. Pretty much the entire world, everything that you can interact with, can be saved. This includes all of the players. Now, the health, the level, everything that has to do with player data can be saved. So another one of the notable things I did was I totally removed the bunny and the fox models, and I replaced them with much better ones that are actually animated, because if you remember from before, they kind of just drifted along the ground. I'd say they kind of look like zombies, so I'm really glad I changed that. That wasn't the only thing I animated though. I added a bunch of animations to the player, some basic attacks, some rolling, some just basic movement stuff. So that makes the player feel a lot more interactive in my opinion. I actually started those player animations as a part of the combat system. Now, that is definitely not done right now, but the basics, the groundwork, that seems to be in place. Or maybe not. Two of the least flashy things, but arguably two of the most important things I've done, was I enabled static batching for all of the non-moving objects, so all the trees, and I enabled culling for all the particles that weren't actually in the scene. Now for the trees, I actually changed how I spawned them in. Before, I would spawn all the trees high up in the air, and then I had rigid bodies on them so they would fall into the right spot. Since I have hills, I didn't want to just spawn them out through code at the same level. Now what I've done is I've taken off all the rigid bodies from the trees, because before those were used to have them fall at the right spot since I have hills, and instead I have raycasts coming from the location where I used to spawn them, and I would get the difference between that location at the top and the location that it hits on the mesh, and I simply just spawn the tree at that location. This is great because since the trees are no longer a moving object, I can actually enable static batching, which greatly improves performance as well. For the particles, what I didn't realize, and I actually stumbled upon this by happy accident, is that they were dropping the FPS by about 30. What I did was change the culling mode from automatic to pause and catch up. So pause and catch up, it stops all the particles that are off screen, and then whenever they reappear, it runs an extra simulation to make it look like they've never stopped playing. One of the things I felt most accomplished with in terms of saving is I have it now so whenever you create a player, it quickly does a screenshot and then saves that PNG to the computer, and then every time you load up the game, it'll load that up next to that player button for your player select screen. There's a lot of other stuff I'm sure I didn't touch on, but if you have any questions about them, go ahead and leave a comment. I really appreciate anyone who's even watched 2 seconds of this video, Hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time. It won't be another 4 months, by the way.